What's up guys, RC Apologist here, making sure this time I actually have the connection to the Wi-Fi on this time, so that way doing so will not have it distorted like it did the DS video. Now, there has been some people who have asked questions on how exactly to engage in more formal moderated debates, and others who feel like they just don't have this ability to debate, think that it's something that's complex, they're not experienced. Well, the first thing off, if you're going to even engage in it, you have to have some experience, and the only way to get experience is to just go ahead and throw yourself into debating in general. Secondly, in order to get yourself acquainted and familiar and survive, say, if you will, these debates, you're going to have to put yourself in a position to get some advice, get some tips. And so that's where I come in. I have done a few formal moderated debates in my life, and I figured that this would be a good time to help bring an introduction, if you will. So let's get to it. So the one thing you're going to want to keep in mind for debates is to definitely lean towards the formal moderated format. Because when you have it like that, that means you have someone who's going to be moderating the debate. It's going to be in a structure of, say, your opening statements are 10-15 minutes or however long you want the time to be. Then you have rebuttal rounds. Then however you want to discuss it is rather if you keep going with rebuttals, two closing statements, or you get to crossfire 2-minute round rebuttals, or you do cross-examination, which is where one person asks the questions and the other asks the questions back. Usually this allows you to have a chance to formulate yourself, formulate your arguments, and have things written down well, so that way you have everything. Secondly, do research before getting into a debate. A lot of people think that this is something that you just don't do, that you're supposed to be, this wise cracker that's able to spin things off the top of their heads, when it's easy enough to say, for example, let's just use this, that I'm getting up and I'm going to the library. I need to get a few books to get myself prepared for a debate. Let's say we're debating Old Testament and we need stuff to learn about it. So we get back home after going to the library and reading the Old Testament, an introduction by Lawrence Bode. The Old Testament documents, Are They Reliable and Relevant by Walter Geiser, and a biblical theological introduction to the Old Testament. So your library happens to have these, and these are what you get. So not every library, though, is going to have all the books, so make sure you exhaust yourself of all the sources you can get for the libraries. Another source that you can also go to is a bookstore. Whether it be online, I would suggest if you have websites that can get you these kinds of books for a certain price, and it's cheaper than having to go to the store, which there's the other option, going to the bookstore to get these particular books. So whatever thesis, whatever topic you're dealing with, whatever author delves in with this as a scholar or a philosopher or anything like that, get his book on it and try to research on the thing, so not only that you can have some quotes on standby, but you also can have a better knowledge of it to formulate your own opinion and your own understanding of the subject that you are dealing with. The next topic, or next tip, should I say, is take notes. Now, if you've seen debates, you'll notice one thing that the people are usually doing. They're writing things down on paper as the other person is going. This is not them ignoring other people, but rather this is them simply taking notes. And especially when it comes to debating, you're going to need to do that to not just remember specifically word for word what your opponent has said, but also to allow that time to come so that you can then look at your notes and formulate your own opinion. So for example, if for the sake of this analogy, we're talking about bacon or hamburger versus cheeseburger, which is better. And so you decide to hear your opponent out, and you're hearing all the presentations, and you're deciding to take notes. Okay, so you gotta, for example, we're gonna use this since a lot of people use the computer these days, though of course you can still use the notepad and pen if you want to still. But here's an example. If you have like a Microsoft Word or something like that, you get that formulated up, and then you take another note. And so here's an example of what you should have. Can't tell if I had gotten it. Okay. So right there we have, yeah, I know that's a very bad way to put it, but for the sake of this whole issue, you see the footnotes and all that, and that's how you got it. I can't even talk today. That's gonna how you want it structured. So make sure you take notes. They can be brief points, so that way then you can look at it and formulate it in your own time. Because trust me, as long as you have something to go about, that'll help you formulate your own statements better, and that'll help you to get something ready for when you respond. So, going over so far, we've had make sure you do your research. Make sure that you do stick with the formal moderated format, and that you take notes. These are the 3 things so far. The other thing is your composure and how you conduct yourself in the debate. Do not get aggressive. There's times I've done that breaks the rules of the debate at that point when you're trying to let your emotions get the better of you in a particular debate. Do not respond as if it's a personal vendetta. Respond simply as professionally as you can. And number 5, and this is one that I definitely can't stress enough, is to stick to the rules of the formal moderated debate structure. That is, for example, when if you're in cross-examination and it's somebody else's turn to ask you questions, you don't get to ask them questions. So anytime you ask a question, you're breaking the rules, and you have to catch yourself when you do that. I've had to do it several times, and this is I've done it, I think, once or twice during the debate I had with Ayub during our Is Jesus God debate. So, you have to make sure to conduct yourself properly. Make sure you follow all the formal moderated rules of the debate. Stick with the formal moderated format, because it will help you, trust me, in trying to get your point and your case across versus a general free-for-all debate. Take notes. Make sure you do that, especially not just during the rebuttal, but even before the debate. Get a series of notes, because you'll have, like, say, if we started to get a debate set up now, and we take it saying that it's going to happen in about 3 or 4 weeks from now, that gives you plenty of time as you do your research to take notes and get yourself basically like a little script or set of notes that you have, so that you can not stutter and have a formula to go off of. And I had forgotten the 5th point while I was stuttering through that, but I did say it and repeat it earlier, so feel free to go back and, emphasize the points. But those are the main 5 tips that I would offer for concerning debating, because it doesn't take someone skilled to just get thrown into debate. You get skilled based off of experience, and everyone has their own way of going about and doing things. So you have to find your own little niche. You have to find your own little particular set and your approach towards debating. Because it's not for everybody, but at the same time, not everybody's the same when they get started into it. So that's just a little bit of some advice I wanted to offer for that. So also, sorry that I have not been able to do an Ask RC Apologist. I had forgotten to mention that I was going to be out of town for a wedding, but I'm going to make it up. Already in the works of doing a video debunking the documentary hypothesis, and we got the research in the works to go along with that. So I'll hope to see y'all in the next video that will be hopefully on that, or unless we do the Ask RC Apologist. But until then, this has been RC Apologist. Take care.